Good morning and welcome back. We have another new story. We are just crushing these. Like I said, I was going to read this book. I finally got it on Mac and Via. So, The One and Only Bob. It's the sequel to The One and Only Ivan. So, a backstory was they were in an old kind of, I think it was like a mall or department store, and they were kind of the featured kind of zoo animals there to kind of get people there, and they weren't treated very well, and they escaped. So Bob is the dog, Ivan is the gorilla. So I encourage you to go get The One and Only Ivan if you haven't read it or heard it. Even if you have heard it, read it. You can get it on Mac and Via, at least through Minnewashi you can. I'm assuming Siena Kites probably has some copies too. You might have to put a request on it if it's out, but the requests come pretty quick. So here we go. All right. Boy, they have like a... Okay, so here is the, it says the canine glossary, a dog glossary. This is what the various positions of a dog mean. Okay, that's kind of funny. And then the glossary says, a bed boogie. Circular dance performed by dogs before settling into bed. Probably a primitive nesting behavior. Co-pilot. Dog riding in a car, often with head poking out of an open window. Crazy mutt. Exuberant greeting ritual. Drool flag. Visible tongue protrusion, frequently displayed during co-piloting or meal preparation. Frap. F-R-A-P. Frenetic random activity period. Synonym, zoomies. Full wag. The happiest tail position. A relaxed circular swish, sometimes including hip wiggles. Fur on alert. Raised hair on a dog's neck and back. An involuntary reaction often caused by fright or aggression. Head tilt. Quizzical look employed to charm gullible humans. Leave it. The world's worst command, especially when applied to food. Knee ball. Dried poop thrown at observers. Origin, gorilla. That's from Ivan. Play bow. Body position with elbows down and rear up, signaling an invitation to have fun. Rhymes with pet threat. Vet. An otherwise kind human armed with thermometers and needles. Tailspin. Number 1. Chase involving the flexible appendage attached to the rear of most canines. Number 2. Informal. An embarrassing or quixotic effort. Toe twitcher. Dream. Often squirrel-focused, resulting in foot movement. Tug-of-war string. A long, though never long enough, piece of fabric or leather used to lead humans during walks. It's a leash. UFO. Unidentified food object, often found under kitchen tables or couch cushions. Number 2. Unidentified floor object, hopefully edible. Number 3. Unidentified flying object, ideally a stick, flying disc, or slobber-covered tennis ball. Water bowl of power. Number 1. Jumbo-sized ceramic dish. Number 2. Uncomfortable human chair. That's the toilet. That's funny. Generally found in bathrooms. I'm thinking, you gotta think like a dog now, because it's funny. And then zoomies. Sudden bursts of energy, usually involving chaotic dashes through the house. That's funny. The water bowl of power, the toilet. I don't know if you've ever had a dog. Our dog, we left the seat up once. He drank the entire toilet of bowl of water and then threw it up all over our hallway. So that was awesome. All right, here we go. The One and Only Bob. Confession. Look, nobody's ever accused me of being a good dog. I bark at empty air. I eat cat litter. I roll in garbage to enhance my aroma. I harass innocent squirrels. I hog the couch. I lick myself in the presence of company. I'm no saint, okay? So he's laying. I don't know. I'll show you the pictures. Okay, there is a picture. I think there's a lot of pictures in this. And while I'm at it, I may or may not have eaten a pepperoni pizza with anchovies when nobody was looking. Also, I may or may not have eaten a coconut vanilla birthday cake when nobody was looking. Also, I may or may not have eaten a Thanksgiving turkey, except for the stuffing. Way too much rosemary. when nobody was looking. Nobody looking. That seems to be the common thread. As they say on the crime shows, motive and opportunity. Robert. Name's Bob. I'm a mutt of uncertain heritage. Definitely some Chihuahua, with a smidgen of Papillon on my father's side. You're probably thinking I'm some wimpy lapdog, the kind you see poking out of an old lady's purse like a hairy keychain. But size ain't everything. It's swagger, attitude. You gotta have the moves. Probably I should have been named Bruiser or Bam Bam or Bandit, but Bob's what I got, and Bob will do me just fine. Whoops. Oh, man. Julia named me. Long time ago. She's my girl. She calls me Robert when I get on her nerves. Happens pretty often, to be honest. Numero uno. There's an old saying about us dogs goes like this. It's no coincidence that man's best friend can't talk. Let me tell you something. If we could talk to people, they'd get an earful. You ever hear anyone mention man being dog's best friend? Nope. Didn't think so. Way I figured it, end of the day, you gotta be your own best friend. Look out for numero uno. Learned that one the hard way. That's not to say I don't have a best pal. I do. Gorilla, name of Ivan. Big guy and I go way back. Gorilla and dog. Yep, I know. You don't see that every day. Long story. I love that big ol' ape. Ditto, our little elephant friend, Ruby. They're the best. How we met. The first time I met Ivan, I was a homeless puppy, desperate, starving, all alone. It was the middle of the night, and I'd slipped into the mall where Ivan lived in a cage. I wandered a bit, grateful for the warmth, confused by the weird assortment of sleeping animals I found there, checking every trash can for anything edible. There was a small hole in a corner of Ivan's enclosure. He was fast asleep, cuddled up with a warm, stuffed animal that looked like a weary gorilla. He was snoring, and man, that guy snored like a pro. In his open palm was a chunk of banana, and I still get shivers when I think about this. I ate it right out of his hand. Guy could have squeezed his fingers shut, and I would have popped like a puppy balloon. But he just kept on sleeping. And then, more shivers. I'm either a maniac or the bravest dog on the planet. Probably a little both. I hopped up onto that big, round, furry tummy of his. That's right, I climbed Mount Ivan. Crazy, I know. I have no idea what I was thinking. Maybe I was so exhausted that I went a little bonkers. Maybe he just looked so warm and cozy that I figured it was worth taking a chance. I did my bed boogie. Dogs don't feel right till we do a quick dance before settling. Once I had things just so, I lay down in a little puppy lump and rode the waves on that tummy like a puny boat on a great brown sea. Here's a picture of it. When Ivan opened his eyes the next morning, he didn't seem surprised in the least to find a puppy snoozing on his belly. He refused to move until I woke up. I think he was as glad as I was to have found a new friend. The amazing story of man's best friend. Before long, me and Ivan were best buddies. We're an unlikely pair, sure. Ivan's calm and serene, a philosopher, an artist. I wish I could be more like that. No one's ever accused me of being level-headed. Hot-headed, sure. And I can't talk pretty like Ivan can. I'm a street dog after all, and I'm proud of it. Still, we clicked in a way I never had with humans. Man's best friend? Pfft, no way. Gorilla's best friend? You bet. Seems to me the first time I ever heard that phrase, man's best friend, was while I was watching TV with Ivan. Back in the day, Ivan had this little television, and we watched a lot of stuff together. Old movies, westerns, cartoons, you name it. Poor guy was stuck in a cage, didn't have a lot else to do except throw meatballs at gaping humans. Remember what a meatball was? Anyways, me and Ivan, big fans of the tube. Cat food commercials, pro bowling, Dancing with the Stars. What's not to like? Once we watched a special on Nature Channel. It was called The Amazing History of Man's Best Friend. Show was all about famous dogs. There were rescue dogs and therapy dogs and war dogs and fire dogs and movie dogs and this dogs and that dogs. And between you and me, most of them were just plain overachievers. Then they got to this dog named Hack something or other. Hatchet toe, maybe? Seems his owner died. For the record, I object to the word owner, by the way. But we'll set that aside for now. And Hatch something or other sat around for over 9 years in the same spot at the same train station, day after day, waiting for him to return. Thing is, the narrator guy was blabbing on and on about this dog, really over the top stuff. How loyal, how loving, break out the Kleenex, blah, 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 wah, wah, wah. Man's best friend. They made a statue of this dog. I kid you not. A statue of the dog who sat around 9 years waiting for a dead guy. In my opinion, that dog was a ninny, a numbskull, a nincompoop. That actually was a pretty good movie. I saw the movie of that one that he was talking about. I think it's Ache or Hache or something. It's actually a pretty good movie. It might be one that you can watch, but you got to run it by your parents. I'm yours. Let me tell you about being man's best friend. Being man's best friend can mean a lot of things. Companionship, belly rubs, tennis balls, but can also mean a dark, endless highway and an open truck window. It can mean the smell of the wet wind as hands grab the box you're in with your brothers and sisters and you go sailing into the unkind night and still, crazy as it sounds, you're thinking, but I'm yours, I'm yours, I'm yours. No one. That's what being man's best friend can get you. A black highway, an empty box, and no one in the world but you. Now think like a dog. It's interesting. If you've ever gotten a dog and you go to pick it up, we had to pick up our dog and some of its siblings were still there and the mom didn't like it because she knew. So it was happy for us. Puppy really didn't care, but not so happy maybe for the mom. Early days. I don't remember much about my early puppy days. It was 3 years ago, but sometimes it feels like 300. Mostly, I recall fighting with my sibs for the primo meal spot. Lots of squirming and squeaking, everything soft and milk-smelling and movable, like we were one great big complicated animal. I never met my dad, and my mom didn't say much about him, except that he was trouble. Mom had a beautiful fawn coat. Chihuahua, some this, some that. Nice, messy bloodline. Mutts rule. Mom crooned to us, told us stories, laid down the law. I wonder if she knew she didn't have much time to prepare us for the world. We were born in a dark place, probably under some porch stairs, I suspect, since I remember the sound of boots plodding up and down, the biting and ugly smell of human feet. They called my mom Rio, and they fed her most days, though sometimes she had to fend for herself. She never showed fear toward them or respect. Indifference, I guess you'd say. Unless they tried to handle one of us. She growled then, hoping to make it clear that we were hers and hers alone. I myself got picked up a couple of times. The hands reached in and grabbed. They were rough and smelled of strange scents, bitter and meaty. My mom's growl made me fearless, and I wriggled and yipped. The hands shoved me back to the warm place where I could sleep and drink and dream in safety. Still, I understood, in my simple puppy way, that dogs belong to humans, and that was how it would always be. Boss. My mom wasn't much for names. She had a lot of litters. I guess she'd run out of ideas. My brother, first, was naturally the firstborn. Runt, my youngest bro, was the last. Dot had a little spot on her back, and Yip was always complaining. I was rowdy. Goes without saying. And that left my oldest sister, we called her Boss. Boss was small but mean, with a distinctive sharp-sounding bark. She could outmaneuver any of us to the best spot for dining. I admired her grit, even if she did get on my nerves. When we got a little older, less blind, more cocky, I fought her off occasionally, but mostly Boss won. She was fearless, that pup. Alone. The truck happened without warning one night. They threw us in a box, left my mom behind. I can still hear her frantic howls. I landed in a muddy ditch. It was a cloudy night, nearly freezing. Even the moon had abandoned me. And the smells? Everything so wild and unknown. Animals with big jaws and bigger appetites. Birds that swooped in to kill. Death and life all mixed up together. I searched for my siblings until the truth became clear. I was utterly alone. Cars. The next morning I began my slow journey, moving through the tall, wet grass, my limbs stiff from the cold. Now and then I'd drink from a mud puddle or gnaw on some grass. By evening I was wobbly with hunger and thirst. I followed the highway. Every time a four-wheeled creature roared by, I froze in fear. And yet, and this is what slays me most, I knew that cars meant humans, and humans meant the possibility of living, just as much as they meant the possibility of dying. The owl. Whew. Darkness had fallen when it came out of nowhere, the owl. A shadow and a shadow. They don't make a sound, you know. Not a sound. It's quite impressive when you think about it. Luck. Just as her talons, those marvelous weapons, raked my fur, I caught my right front foot in a small hole and stumbled. If she had gotten hold of my body, I wouldn't be here. But all she managed to do was grab my tail. Only time in my life I've regretted my handsome hindquarters. I was airborne, hanging upside down, dizzy and dazed, and just crazy enough to think, hey, I'm actually flying, before the terror hit full force. I caught a whiff of other animals below. Later I found out they were pocket gophers, but back then I just knew I was smelling something completely foreign. The owl must have decided the gophers would make a more satisfying meal. She let loose her grip, and I plummeted to the earth. More luck. Maybe it was my puppy fat, or my soft bones, or my incredible good fortune. But I didn't die. Didn't even break anything. I had flown twice in my short life and lived to tell the tale. All right, so I think I'm going to stop there for today. I wonder how far we are. Oh, 8%. So, all right, short little paragraphs, but it's kind of funny. I like reading dogs that talk. So, I will see you guys later.